Hey everyone, and welcome to another Flutter video tutorial. In this one, I'm going to teach you how you can put a linear gradient background behind a circle avatar. And that's not it. I'm going to also teach you some more things that you can use within your Flutter applications. And for that, I would highly encourage you that you see the video till the end. And if you have not subscribed to my channel, please do it and click the bell icon because that helps me create more content and I actually feel really good about that. So let's jump into the code now. So what we actually want to do in this video is we have to get a linear gradient background behind this circle avatar. So by default, the circle avatar actually doesn't allow that. And in order to show that, what I can do is that I can go down where this circle avatar is being created. And by the way, this app that you see on the screen was built in another video called the context list and search. So if you have not seen that video, please go ahead and see that video and then you can come back to learn how we actually put a gradient background behind this circle avatar. So if I go down and if I go to the circle avatar, so this is the one which is actually creating the initials, and you can see that these are the elements being portrayed whenever we don't have an image. So after the child, if I try to type background, you will see that we have the option for background color, we have the option for background image, but this background color actually is a color, it's not a gradient, and we don't have any option to specify a gradient in a circle avatar. So what we can do is perhaps just set a background. For instance, I could say colors dot, let's say if we go towards orange, and then once we save this should be background color. And now once I hit save, you should be able to actually see that on the device. So now we have got the orange background, but how do we get the gradients? So in order to do that, instead of just returning this circle avatar, I can actually use a container. And this is the main part or the integral part for having a gradient background. And inside the container, I can actually create a child, and here I can provide the circle avatar. And this is what we are doing. So if I just save this and let's just remove the background color or just set this to color.indigo for instance, and now once we save this, you can see that we are back to normal and we have just this container. Now what we can do is that we can basically provide a decoration to this container, and that is going to help us create the linear gradient. So for the decoration, we can use box decoration, and inside this we have the option to specify a gradient. So what I'm going to do is that I'm going to provide a linear gradient here, and then this linear gradient can accept a lot of colors. So a gradient is a mixture of different colors, and you can see that we have colors, begin, and whatnot. So what we can do here is that we can provide the colors. So for instance, initially I'm going to provide the red color and the blue color. So I'm going to say colors, and here I'm going to say colors.red, and then we have colors.blue. Now that we have actually set those, if I just save, you see that now we have got a gradient background behind the circle avatar, and that's because we are using a container with a box decoration. Now in order to see the background clearly, what I'm going to do is that I'm going to just put transparent color here so we can actually see the background clearly. And now you can see that we have the linear gradient background. So one thing to notice now is the text is blending with the gradient. It's not as white as we want it to be, and therefore it's not highlighted. So in order to fix that, what we can do is we can provide a style here. So we can say style, here we can say text style, and then inside we can provide the color and colors.white. And once we hit save, you will see that the colors will become more prominent. Now you can see that it's white. So now we have taken care of this, and now let's talk about the linear gradient that we have at the moment. So a linear gradient by default starts from the left and goes towards the right, and it goes in the sequence of the colors provided. So I've provided red, I've provided blue. If I provide, let's say, colors.yellow after this one, you will see that the gradient that we are going to create will actually have those three colors and in the same direction. So you can see that now we have this kind of gradient. Now, if we wanted to change the direction of this gradient, what we can do is that we can specify the begin and the end. So for the begin, we can provide some kind of alignment, and we can say alignment dot, and then we can choose from one of the positions. So it can be top, bottom, center, bottom left, or whatnot. So what I'm going to do is that I'm going to pick bottom left, and then for ending, I'm going to pick the top right one. So it is a diagonal linear gradient. So I'm going to say alignment dot, and then we are going to say top right. Now let's just save this and see how this looks. Cool, so now you can see that the direction also has changed. I'm going to remove this yellow one so we only have two colors to work with. So now that we have got this nice gradient, how do we make this circular, because this is supposed to be a circle avatar. So in order to just do that, we can provide the shape here. So in the box decoration, we have a property named shape, and here we can say box shape dot, and then we have the option to choose from rectangle or circle. So we are going to choose circle. And once we save this, you should be able to see that now we have circular avatars or a circular box decoration, and it actually seems like what we had previously. And that is actually what we wanted to achieve in this video. But as I said, you are going to learn a lot more in this video with some really cool techniques. So I'm going to step up the game, and now we are going to talk about how do we actually do something like this. So if you see on your screen, we have an app that has a list of contacts, and you can see that each contact has this nice gradient. This is not a solid color, this is a gradient, and inside this gradient you can see that there is a repetition. So we have yellow, green, blue, then yellow, then green, and we are actually going to do something like this. But if we just take a step back, what we want to do is to be able to have a random color for each of the contact. And for that, what we can have is a list of colors that we can choose from. So for instance, what I'm going to do is that I'm actually going to copy these colors, and then I'm going to create a list of colors in the item builder. So here, what I'm going to do is I'm going to say list colors, and then I'm going to provide this array. So now that we have this, the next step is to pick a random color that we can assign to our contacts. So what we can do is that we can actually have two different colors. So for that, we can simply say color, and we can probably say color 1, and we have color 2. Now in order to have a random gradient, what we can do is that we can basically use these colors in the colors array. So I'm just gonna copy this color 1, and then we are going to paste this here, and same for this one, but this is gonna be color 2. Now that we have saved this, we have to assign these values. So how do we pick a random color out of the lists? So as I said, you're gonna learn a lot of things in this video, so this is one of the things. So in order to pick a random color, what we can do is that we can basically create a variable with the type random, and we are going to name it random, and then we are just gonna say new random. So this random is actually imported from the math library of Dart, and I can just import the Dart math library, and now we have this random variable. Now this random basically provides us a random number, and we provide a maximum value to get that number. So it could be like from 0 to a maximum value. So what we want to do is to pick a value out of this colors list from a random index. So we actually want a random index, and for that what we can simply do is that we can basically create an int, and we can simply say index or random index, and then here we can say random dot. Now this has a next int method that we actually want to use. So in the next int, we are going to provide the maximum number or the length of the colors. So I can simply say colors dot length. Now one important thing about this random next int method is that you provide a maximum value here, which is in this case 2, because we have 2 elements. But if I hover over this, you will see that it generates a non-negative random integer from 0, which is inclusive, so it includes 0, to max, which is exclusive. So it will never include 2 in the result, which is actually what we want, because there's no element at the second index or the index 2. So now that we have got this random index, we can basically use that for the colors. So in order to have two different colors, we might want two different random indexes. So instead of just having this in a variable, what I'm going to do is I'm just going to use this 2 times to have two different colors. So I can simply say equals, and then I can say colors, and here I can provide the random index. And I'm going to do the same for this one. So I'm just going to copy this, and then I'm going to paste this. So now we have got the color 1 and color 2. Let's save this and let's try this out. Awesome. So now you can see that we are actually having random colors picking out of the colors list. But you can see that sometimes there's a gradient, sometimes both of the colors become red, which results in this, and sometimes both of the results are blue, so it becomes this. So we have two problems here. One, the colors that we are picking are actually random and are different from each other. And second, whenever we save or the user would come back to this page after going to some place else, the color combination would have been changed. For instance, this Anna Harrow would have a different color than before. So these are the two problems we have right now. So first, this gradient is actually ugly. And the second is that we are having a lot different sequences when the user goes to other pages or comes back or reopens the application in general. So let's fix the first problem to make this not an ugly gradient. So in order to do that, we can try to find a base color, and then we will have two different variations of the same color having in the gradient. For instance, we can have indigo, but then we can use different variations of indigo to create a nice gradient. So in order to achieve that, what we can do is that we can have a base color, and for that I'm going to create a color, and then I'm going to have a base color, and here we will basically use this code to get one of the random colors or one of the colors from the list. So now that we have actually put this, I'm gonna go here and then I'm going to use random here, and then we have a base color. Now what we can do is actually to use the base color for this color 1 and color 2. So for instance, if the base color was colors.red, we could actually have some variations of this red color. For instance, you can see we have 50, we have 100, 200 and whatnot. So let's say that this color 1 is actually a darker variation. For instance, we could take 800, and the color 2 is a light color, which would be something like the 400 variation. So I can simply replace this, and then I can put a 400 here. Now if I save this, now you can see that we have this really nice red gradient which is closer to the snapshot of the image that I showed you. So we actually want something like this. So let's say we got the base color here. How do we use this base color here to get the variation? Because if I try to do so, you will actually see that it doesn't work. Dart actually gives us an error and we actually have to find a way out. So in order to kind of go around this, what we can do is that instead of giving this a type, we can simply use a var. So that is the first thing that we can do. And the second thing that we can do is that we can basically say as dynamic. So this will basically make this variable dynamic, and we can actually then fetch out the variations in the form of color. So if I save this now, you can see that now we have a really nice background for all of our items. But still the second problem is there. This now has a sequence which is not consistent, and every time the user uses it, it's different. So how do we actually go about this? So for that, we are actually going to use a sequence of colors, and we will basically assign them in a sequence. So for that, what I'm going to do is that I'm just going to take this list out, and then I'm going to put this here. So we have this at the very top, and we don't have to kind of reinitiate it or redeclare it on every item build. And then what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to use that here. But now let's choose our colors, and we are going to have more colors than just these two. So for instance, we could have green, and let's say we also have indigo, and then we could have colors dot yellow, and we could have colors dot orange. So these are the 4 colors that we are going to use. Now, if I go down and if we save this, you can see that we have a lot of options, but the issue of the sequence is still there since we are using random. So instead of random, what I'm going to do is that I'm actually going to create a counter, and I can call it color index, and I'm going to assign this with 0 initially. So now I'm going to use this index to actually get the color. So for this base color, instead of using this random, I'm just going to use the color index, and I'm also going to remove this random from here. So now we are getting the color from index, and for each iteration we have to update the color index. And for each iteration we have to update the color index. So I'm going to say color index plus plus. And now I'm also going to check if the index goes above the length or becomes equal to the color's length, then we have to set this to 0 just to not overflow the array index. So we can simply say if color index becomes colors.length. So in that case, we are just going to say color index equals 0. So now if I try to save this, you can see that now we have this really nice sequence with green, indigo, yellow, orange, green, indigo, yellow. And if this contact did not have an image, it would be orange. So now we actually have a sequence, and if I hit save, so this will re-render, and you will see that after re-rendering, the sequence is still the same. And this is really nice for the user experience. Now, as I said, you're gonna learn a lot of things. So there's one more issue. And guess what? If I try to search a contact, the color for that contact will be gone. So if I try to search John Wick, which has the indigo background, you will see that that actually changes to green. And that's bizarre. But the way it's happening is that for the list, it always would start with the first color, which in our case is the green color. So if we are filtering with the filtered items, it will still follow this whole sequence. And that's actually not what we want. So how do we go about this? So instead of assigning the colors inside the item builder, which basically executes every time Flutter tries to render this page, or we do filtering or anything else, instead we can basically assign the colors when we first get the contacts out from the contact service. So instead of all this code here, what I'm going to do is that I'm going to paste this inside when we get the contacts. So what I'm going to do is that I'm just going to copy this one, and then we will try to find the code when we get the phone contacts the first time. So if I scroll up, we have this method here called getAllContacts, and here we are going to do the magic. So for each contact, we have to have a particular color. So how do we actually assign those color? For that, I'm going to go to the top and I'm going to create a map here. So I can simply say map, and this map will be of string and color, and then this will be called contact color hash, or instead of hash we can say map, and then I'm just going to say new map. So here we are actually creating an empty map, and this is actually fine. And in the getAllContacts method, what we can do is that after we have got the contacts, we can basically apply a for each to the list. So we can say contacts dot for each, and here we are going to have a contact on every iteration, and then we are going to do some magic here. So what I'm going to do is that I'm going to paste this code here. Now we don't have the colors list defined here, also the color index. So I'm going to go down, and then I'm just going to copy this from here, and then we will paste this here in the beginning of the function. Now we have got the colors, we have got the color index, and we actually don't need this code here because that's already in the items builder. Now what we want to do is we want to assign this base color to the contacts color map. So for that we are going to say contacts color map, and here we can assign this against a particular unique value of the contact. So for simplicity, I'm going to use contact dot display name, but you can use this against the phone number or whatever identifier you want. And then against this, I'm going to just assign base color. Now, this actually makes sense to kind of convert this into a simple color, because now we are not doing anything hacky in this place, but we are doing that in the item builder. So I'm just going to make this simple color, and then we are assigning the color to the context color map, which is a map of string and color. So now that we have actually set this, the next step is to use this context color map in the item builder. So what I'm going to do is that I'm going to go down, and then here I'm actually going to just replace this line with the context color map. Now, in order to retrieve the value as well, I'm going to use contact.displayName. So whatever the key that we set above, we have to use the same here. And now that we have set this, we can basically save this and see how this works. Alright, great. And now you can see that we have an error here. So what I can do is that I can just restart and see if this actually works. Awesome, so you can see that it actually works. And I'm not sure why Flutter does this, but I was also kind of struggling on what's wrong and banging my head towards the wall. But yeah, it was just about restarting and then it started working. So now we are actually fetching the values from the map, and we can remove any unnecessary code, for instance. So if I go here, I think we don't need this colors or color index anymore. If I go down, maybe we are using that somewhere, yes, but yes, we actually don't need this here as well. So now that we have cleaned up the code, I'm just going to save this, and then we are going to verify if everything works fine. So now that we have saved this, let's try it out with a particular contact. So for instance, I can try to search Hank, and you can see that it's on the 4th number. So when I search, it still should be orange. So I'm gonna just try searching Hank. And now you can see that the color is actually maintained and it's not lost. For instance, Anna always has the green color. Similarly, we have David, which would have yellow always. So now we are actually preserving the colors using the map technique. So we actually assign everything in the beginning and then we just reuse it, so we don't have to calculate it again and again. And guess what? That's actually it for this video. If you liked the video and if you learned something good from it, please give this a thumbs up and also share this within your circle. And if you have not subscribed yet, please subscribe and click that bell icon. And then I'm gonna see you in the next video.